Chapter 2 Seek Wisdom. The airplane had reached its destination. Passengers started leaving their seats to move out. Stepping out of the plane with a jolt to his step, Dom took his first breath on his home soil. The sweet smell filled his nostrils. He wondered if nostalgia had a scent. It's been a while since he was home, and God knew he missed it badly. The airport was filled with people and families waiting for their dear ones, but there was something that made him stop and look at one boy hugging an old man. He felt the memory of his own grandfather. Dom had quite a lot of memories of his grandfather. He recalled his grandfather's words of wisdom, his smile, his laugh, his sternness when Don did something that he didn't like, and his kindness when young Dom would cry. Dom pursed his lips and looked away. In half an hour, he made his way out of the airport, holding his luggage in one hand and his phone in the other. Everything was the same. Busy streets, restaurants, food stalls, and the hustle-bustle of people. Nothing had changed. A smile spread over his face without any reason. He looked for the familiar restaurants he'd usually buy from when he was younger. While eating, his attention hadn't diverted once. He was looking at the locals, happily passing along the streets, and children playing in front of houses and stalls. Everything was reminding him of his past, his innocent childhood. After what he'd been through, things seemed so simple. Only in the darkest hour do we appreciate the littlest things, he thought. He arrived home and placed his bags on his bed. The walls of the room were a dull shade of beige. The bed was off-white, lined with milk chocolate brown. It wasn't too big, nor was it too small. He went towards the bland bathroom and took a shower, eager to wipe off all the grime on his desert-tan skin. A few minutes passed, and he was out of the bathroom. He was feeling comparatively more relaxed and calmer. He dried his hair with a towel, standing in front of the dressing table as multiple thoughts roamed in his mind. He then came back to his desk and started taking files out of his bag. Thoughts of his grandfather raced through his mind. Dom thought about how he must be faring with the cancer, especially since it had been a while since they had seen each other. After some moments passed, he awoke to a burning pain on his neck and drool on his shirt. He had ended up sleeping on the desk. He stretched. The satisfying pop of his back caused a groan to escape his lips. His eyes widened as he checked the time, and in a flash, he was already making his way to the bathroom. He hastily got ready, almost as if he was flying, due to his feet barely touching the ground from how fast he was going. Opting for a brisk walk, he made his way out of his hotel room. His army training was still proving to be helpful. He hoped that he could keep it up now, when transitioning back to civilian life. The outside environment was still the same. The whole market was flooded with fast food on every stall. Right after grabbing a bite for not only him, but also for his grandfather, he left to meet him. Dom stopped in front of a light blue-colored building and raised his head. The home of the elderly. He read the name from the top of the building and took a deep breath. He walked over to the door and for a brief moment, hesitated to turn the door's handle. He was nervous to see his grandfather. Nervous, but excited. Opening the door, it smelled earthy, but at the same time quite chemical. He didn't really seem to mind it though, as he was eager to look for his grandfather. The nurses walked from one room to another, some with trays, some with new clothes, and some with fresh sheets. "I'm looking for an Abraham Gray, please," he asked the attending nurse. "You must be Dominic, if I am correct," she responded in a questioning way. "Yes, ma'am." "Right this way, sir," the nurse gestured. He followed the nurse over to his grandfather's room. "Mr. Gray, someone is here for you," the nurse called. A frail, "Come in," voice was heard, and Dom made his way inside with gentle steps. The nurse left them alone. "Grandpa Abe, very nice to see you," greeted the young man with a warm smile. "Dom, stop talking to me so formally. I'm just your grandfather, for goodness sake," the old man exclaimed. The old man was joyous at the embrace of a family member after a long, long time. It was so overwhelming that in a second, his tone changed, and he said, "It's been so long, Dom, but I'm glad I can see you again before I pass. Quit talking like you're about to die. It's annoying. Plus, old soldiers don't die. They just get orders to pull gate duty. Let me see your orders. What gate are you going to, Gramps?" Dom scolded the older man. The old man sighed and shook his head. A playful smile dawned on Grandpa Abe's face. He had already schemed a way to tease his upset grandson even more. "So, you got a girlfriend now?" "No, Gramps. I've been kind of busy with this little thing called war." "Well, you smell like a perfume factory. That's probably why you don't have a girlfriend." "That's called cologne, Gramps," he responded. Might want to go el natural. Always worked for me. Those women can smell your natural manliness and they go crazy for it. Oh, shut it, you geezer. The older man chuckled heartily, fully knowing what he was doing to his agitated grandson. As the youngins would say, take a chill pill, Grandpa Abe joked. Grandpa, no one has said that in 50 years, Dom smirked. He then picked up his bag, which he had placed on the stool. There was an odd bulge shape in his bag, and he soon realized it was a sandwich he had bought for his grandfather. Gramps, can you catch? Dom warned, right before throwing the sandwich to the old man. Grandpa Abe yelled as he struggled to catch it, but as he did, he laughed in triumph. You see that, grandson? This old man isn't frail yet, he declared. Dom stayed in the hospital for hours, chatting and catching up with his grandpa. They laughed, and Dom was happy to see his grandpa doing so well. It was just like those good old times when they would talk and play chess. And so I said soccer. I never even knew her, Abe cheered. Dom giggled, amused by his grandfather's jokes and mannerisms. But something else seemed to be occupying his mind. He was trying to maintain a happy front, but his feelings weren't letting that happen. His grandpa knew how to read faces well. The soldiers called him the human lie detector. Dommy boy, did something happen? His grandfather queried. Dom was quiet, befuddled with his own inability to hide his feelings. You can tell me anything, you know. Gramps, I thought I wouldn't get in over my head. I thought there was a clear line. There was left and right, black and white, night and day. But his grandpa could see the pain in his face. He'd seen that look before and knew it well. Dommy boy, I got some bad news for you. Really bad news. Dom looked up at his grandfather's wrinkly old face with tiny white hairs that pierced out like thin wires of a firm brush. His grandfather had sadness in his eyes. My boy, not all the good guys are on your team. War is a dirty business. If you want to test a person's character, give them power. If they were a little bad before, they will be a lot worse after. His granddad paused, then continued. But most of the time, most of the people do good. And some of the time, his granddad took a breath. Some people do bad, Dom finished his grandpa's sentence. He had forgotten that he had heard this quote. Nobody gets it right all the time. We can go around in misery, or we can help bring a better life to ourselves and others, picking up the pieces. Count what went wrong, create a new plan, and work through those daily struggles. Look outward and look forward, but keep moving on. After a few hours of chatting, Dom bid a goodbye to his grandfather, albeit solemnly. They gave each other a hug, the type that soldiers do, like a soft, gentle dance of two powerful creatures, an older beast and a youthful one. When he reached home, he was feeling exhausted. He fell on the bed in his clothes and slept. A loud ringing awoke him from his deep slumber. He stretched his legs and reached out for the phone. A groggy and deep, hello, escaped his lips. Dom, wake up already! I have some good news for you, his aunt said in joy and excitement. I got a call from the Powers Tech Company. Have you heard of Max Powers? He's a business mogul in the downtown area. They are looking for corporate security guards and they've invited you down for an interview. Okay, Auntie, he murmured complicitly, not telling her how he really felt about that idea. There's a meeting 2 weeks from now. And before he knew it, the rain started to pour. A light drizzle at first, then to a full shower. Wait, Auntie, someone's calling me. I'll talk to you in a bit, he said before hanging up. He answered the other call. Rain and lightning were still roaring outside. Hello? He said. Are you Dominic Gray? The other line spoke. Yes, this is Dominic. How may I help you? He inquired. It's about your grandfather, sir. In the background, the rain poured mercilessly, muffling the faint alarm on the other line. 2 weeks later, Dom found himself in the old cemetery he used to visit a lot as a kid. A new granite gravestone sat atop a newly covered-up grave, Abraham Gray etched on the stone, followed by a simple, "May he rest in peace." A small bouquet of red flowers, his grandfather's favorite, laid neatly on top. The atmosphere was melancholy. His grandfather looked on the outside to be doing so well already, and yet here he was now, 6 feet deep in the ground, breathless, but finally rid of the pain he had to endure for so long. It was nice seeing you, old man, he said. Dom left for the airport, his heart heavy with angst. He sat in his designated airplane seat. He had a letter unopened. He opened it carefully, only to discover it was from his grandfather. To my dear Dom, I'm dead as you are reading this, but I'm sure you know that already. Dom, my dear grandchild, I'm proud of you no matter what. Live life to the fullest, young one, and never once waver. Every problem has a solution. If we believe absolutely, we absolutely win. Not knowing how many times he read the letter, he then took it to his heart to feel the words of his grandfather. He muttered quietly, "Absolutely."